And so what we'll do too is we'll give the audio of this to our writer to write the story from, and
Perfect.
we'll probably use some clips of this maybe to promo the story. If that
Awesome.
makes sense.
Yay.
And this will be something I'm looking to put in for this August issue. So this would be, you'll go to press here in about 3 weeks. So
Thank you
Okay.
so much for doing this.
oh,
Yes.
absolutely, it's the least I can do. Believe me, I'm a big fan. So let me start. Let me start with you, Kitsie, because I think the show kind of centers on you and your experience, and kind of I assume this was kind of a brainchild of yours that's been in the works for a long time. So tell me, like, how did you get in this paranormal crap to begin with? I mean, how did you start?
So I'm going to try to take this super long story and make it short for you.
Okay.
I grew up and spent most of my life terrified of the paranormal, anything creepy, scary, otherworldly. Nope, huge nope for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I lost my dad. He was really young. I'm like almost the age he was when he passed at this point, and it's scaring the shit out of me. Excuse my French. From a massive heart attack. And there were no goodbyes. There was, no closure. And then I moved away from the family. I headed down here to Bloomington, and I kind of felt his presence, but it didn't feel scary and creepy. And I kind of wanted to know more about it. I mean, yeah, it was scary because I wasn't sure what it was. So I started watching all the paranormal shows that I refused to watch for years. And I'm like, well, these people aren't dying. It's not like the movie Poltergeist, like I was led to believe in the 80s. And it's actually really interesting. So I binged everything I could get my hands on. Everything from where people are yelling at the ghosts, from where the people are trying to help the families that are being haunted, things like that. And then I met up with a paranormal group from Lafayette, and they invited me on an investigation at a place called Black Moon Manor, which no longer exists. And I walked into the place, and I actually felt really at home. I knew it was haunted. It felt a little off. I didn't know what that feeling was at the time, but it was actually a beautiful experience for me, aside from that paranormal group, which turned out to be not so awesome.
So when was this? What's the timeline of when you did that?
Oh my gosh, like 07, 08.
Okay, go ahead.
And then before we went, I'm begging my husband, one, to come with me because I'm like, I don't really know these people and I don't want to die. And two, I need something to film in the dark, babe. You got to find me one of those cameras like they have on TV. So I filmed the entire thing. We were both amateur filmmakers. We did some independent horror films, things like that. And I turned it into an episode on YouTube, which is now hidden because it was horribly edited at the time. And
at least you're honest.
We're gonna need you.
Learning.
We're gonna need you to let us see that footage someday.
No.
Yes.
But what happened, and I wanted it to look like all these shows I watched. So my husband and I went back out one day during the day, and I filmed my explanation of where we were, and we recorded the whole thing. And when I went back to edit that part in, I'm standing outside the house. I'm like, I'm at Black Moon Manor, known for its haunting of Rachel, blah, 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 blah. And I get back and I go to edit it. And the entire time I'm talking, there is like piano music the entire time that wasn't heard by either my husband or myself while we were there. And I'm like, what the what? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, this is real. This is absolutely real. And I've been completely and utterly obsessed ever since.
So do you find, I guess, so you're kind of the typical person, right? Most people are scared of the dark. They're scared of what's going on under their bed. They're scared of knocks in the night. They hear things. They just either are scared of it or they just block it out. They figure it's not going to hurt me. But you then became a believer because you were exposed to it, you were open to it, and now this is like your passion. What do you think the biggest obstacle is for people to believe? I mean, is it you just have to show it to them? Because I have to admit, I watched a couple of your episodes on YouTube, and I wasn't skeptical. I wasn't like I didn't know what to expect really. After watching, I was like, I had to go get my wife. I was like, you got to watch this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So is that part of like your mission or your passion with the show? And we'll get to that in a second. Is that part of it? Is just making believers out of people that maybe are scared or otherwise just ill-informed?
I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm really not. If people don't believe, I've had some of the worst reviews ever on my first show, Oddity Files, on Amazon Prime, saying that it's all fake. It's like, dude, I can't prove to you that this happened because you weren't there. But I was. I filmed it. This is real. I don't have time to fake this stuff. So, but now with Paranormal Crossroads, it is having people get over the fear of it. I mean, some of these people are absolutely terrified of the things they're dealing with in their home. And I've been there. I've done that. I grew up in the haunted house in the neighborhood and I just blocked it all out. And I just want to prove to them that it's whatever it is, whoever it is that is quote unquote haunting their home is really just trying to communicate.
And so is this like your full-time thing? Is this a side hustle for you? Is this like a hobby for you? I mean, what is this?
Right now, it is literally a hobby. I would love for it to be my full-time job. I will not lie about that. It's a hobby that turned into something.
You're not like a full-time mortician on a funeral home or anything like that, right?
No.
So what do you do? What do you do professionally then? What pays your bills?
So finally it's paying our bills again. My husband and I have a photo ops company where we take photos of celebrities and their fans at conventions all over the world.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's talk about KJ. So KJ, I saw the very first, I think it was the pilot episode, right?
Yes.
How did you get to meet Kitsie? What's the connection to her?
We actually met at a convention. We met in Chicago at Wizard World. Celeb Photo Ops was taking the photos, and I, at the time, was working on the Smiley Morning Show, and they had asked if I wanted to bring a bus of fans to go to Chicago and meet all kinds of cool, nerdy actors, and I said yes. And we were in that convention center for all of about 10 minutes and somebody screamed my name. And I'm thinking, I'm in Chicago at a convention full of really big celebrities and I'm not one of them. So why is someone freaking out about me? It turned out to be Kitsie's son, who knew that she listened to me on the radio, and he was like, he just literally grabbed me. He's like, please come, you have to meet my mom. You have to meet my mom. And I'm like, the organizer is with me. And he's like, yeah, go meet Kitsie. That's totally cool. But I literally got like dragged through behind the curtains and everything into this room. And she sees me and she's like, KJ. And I'm like, hi.
Stalker.
Yeah, well.
But it was an immediate friendship. The person who had the weirdest experience, Tom, was Sebastian Stan, who plays the Winter Soldier, because he was getting ready for his photo ops. And so she's freaking out about me being in the studio, and he's like standing in the corner. Like, should I know this person? So that was how we met.
That's how you met. But then how that had to be what, 5 to 10 years ago, right?
7 or 8 years ago. Yeah.
Did you just stay in touch, or how did you get involved?
We did.
Okay.
We did. So, yes, we connected on Facebook. I really kind of got the bug for going to conventions. There was one going on in Philadelphia that had 3 Avengers. They needed help working, and I was like, I'm happy to do that. And we started working together and just became friends. And so, I knew that she was doing Oddity Files. Our paths are completely different in how we came to this, because I've spent my whole life having, ghosts and spirits around, and it just kind of was part of my life, and I never investigated it. It never really bothered me. It just was there, and never watched a paranormal show in my life. So while she was scared and went seeking for paranormal shows, I've been over here just living with a bunch of people talking in my head, and not thinking I need to watch shows because I got my own show going on here.
So talk about Oddity Files. I haven't asked you about that because that's kind of the precursor to all this. What was that show all about?
It is. So the YouTube channel went on for a hot minute. I was bringing friends on investigations with me because, once you start doing this, everybody's like, I've always wanted to try this. And we were filming at locations that were notoriously haunted, which you pay, X amount of money, you get the place for a night, and then you go in with all your equipment and see what you can find. Well, I had done that for a hot minute. Again, edited this. My editing skills have been honed throughout this whole thing. Threw it up on the YouTube. And then it came down to Clayton, who was my co-investigator on Oddity Files that was on Amazon Prime. Just found out this week that it's no longer free on Prime. However, you can purchase seasons. Thanks, Prime. But he's like, what if we were to just have 2 or 3 of us at every investigation? So I'm not worried about who's where, because when I bring the friends along, I had to show them everything every single time. So I really wasn't getting a chance to focus on the evidence, focus on what I was doing. I was more teaching other people how to do it. And then I'm like, that's not a bad idea. And he's like, hey, I heard you can submit stuff to Prime. So let's do a season, throw it up on Prime and see what happens. I'm like, but we need a cameraman. It can't be just us. So I asked my son, Carter, who had been along on one other investigation, because my other 2 children were like, no, Mom, that's terrifying. I'm never doing that with you again. And
don't blame them.
yeah, Carter was like, yeah, whatevs. I get to go places and do things. It gives me something to do. So 3 seasons later, I realized that I really could get these spirits to communicate their stories with us, giving us stories that other investigations aren't actually getting at these locations. Because I go in with an open mind. I'm not there to find what everybody else finds. Not like trying to make myself sound like a big deal, I swear. But I was there just to hear the stories. And then COVID hit. We had just started filming season 4. And Clayton ended up moving to the West Coast, and Carter was like, Mom, I think I'm done. I love spending time with you. And God love the kid. He's like, Mom, I just do this so I can spend some extra time with you. But he's like, I think I'm done. And during the pandemic, I was asked to write a book about my experiences. And in that process, I was like, again, I'm not patting myself on the back, but I was like, I'm really good at this. And yeah. I was able to kind of break down all of my most prominent investigations, and they were all just beautiful stories. So from the process of writing, I'd rather talk to dead people. I figured out what I wanted to do, and I wasn't done. Even though, I had no team anymore, I wasn't done. I'm like, I can do this by myself. It won't be great because I won't have the camera angles I want, but I'm going to continue doing this. And I had 2 options, because I had some of my celebrity friends from celeb photo ops that pulled I want to go on an investigation with you. And I'm like, well, maybe I can get a handful of them together and investigate, blah, 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 blah. Or I had a friend, Tammy Huff, who was our 2nd and 3rd episode on YouTube, who had lost her son. I'd met them both through the convention scene. And she's like, I feel like he's here. I feel like he's trying to talk to me. And she kept, letting me know she was ready. And I had told myself throughout Oddity Files, I don't want to investigate people's homes. I'm worried that 1, I'm going to ramp up the activity at their house. If it's, some Native American that was, buried on the, all these possibilities. Or they're going to try to get me to cross these people over, and I'm going to end up sending them somewhere where they don't want to be. It honestly was a fear of mine. But so before KJ's investigation, I went to Tammy Huff's house. She's in Martinsville. And I did the investigation. And Justin was in a wheelchair his entire life. He had a heart attack at 3 months old, was never really able to speak, but he was such a light. If you had met him, you would know exactly what I was talking about. Who watched all the ghost shows his entire life. So I get there, and dude is killing it. Everything I bring out, he's communicating with us, and so happy that we're finally doing this. And I was able to hear him speak for the first time over my equipment, because in life, all he could do was a loud whisper at best. And then for me, because, I didn't live with him, it was hard for me to understand, but he communicated all night. And then KJ came to me with her touch lamp, and I'm like, sure, I've got all my equipment out, let me charge it up, I'm on my way,
Yeah.
And then it just kind of
and that's the pilot show, right? Isn't the one you did at KJ's house with the touch lamp? So KJ, I watched that episode. It was I guess the funny part about it, when you watch this, the first time I saw it, I thought, how much time did you guys have to record to get what you got? Because it looks like you could have been there for days before the light finally came on or all that. But it sounds like, from the looks of it, the edited part, which looks pretty good, it looks like your grandma spoke to you. Talk about that experience, because I think that, not that you weren't a believer before, but when it happens in your own house and you see it firsthand, I'm sure that changed your attitude, right?
Yeah, and I hadn't really had anything going, like, there's not really been anything here in this house. I've got one spirit that occasionally it's like that out of the corner of your eye, and I'm like, yeah, I know I'm living on the ground that used to be yours. I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. But as far as family members coming through and things like that, I mean, there had never been anything really strong like this. And so when this touch lamp started coming on, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll start talking to it. And so I did. And then I yelled for my husband, who was making dinner. And I'm like, you need to come up here. I'm talking to a lamp and it's talking back. And he's like, what? And so, he comes upstairs, and, I'm like, are you a family member? And the light comes on. And I'm like, are you a family member on my side? And the light comes on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, well, I had to go do a live stream. I happen to be hosting Grateful Bingo online for Grateful Rescue and Sanctuary. And I was like, well, this is great, but I don't have time to talk because I have to go call out bingo numbers. So I went and did that. And then I called Kitsie the next day and said, I know you haven't been able to do a lot of investigations. You don't know where you're at with Oddity Files, but if you want to bring your equipment up and talk to my lamp, it seems to be pretty willing to have a conversation. So I had a feeling that it was my grandmother, because that was the thing we did in life. She had her own table at the bingo hall. Everybody adored her. And, when I was a child, I spent Saturday nights going to bingo with her. And as an adult, when I would visit her, we still went to bingo. So the fact that she dropped by when I started hosting bingo was not surprising. But I think, Tom, what happened after that was really what started to be mind-blowing, because it was really fun that when my grandma was here and she talked about me being on TV more and gave me some really great messages. But she brought through what we kept trying to, we felt like it was my mother, but my mother was just really struggling with the equipment, where my grandma was just acing through everything. that we got out and just communicating. And so that took us to part 2, which was me having Kitsie come back because I was getting all these weird signs. The next day, my sister posted a letter that she had found from my mother from 2008. And, and none of us had ever seen it. So, and she didn't know I'd had Kitsie here talking to my grandma through a lamp. And I was like, that's so weird that letter got posted. And then one of my other sisters called me and said, hey, I found this newspaper clipping from the hometown newspaper of when, your radio show threw the Cancer Sucks party to help mom. And it's a picture of mom and a story. And I'm like, what in the world is happening right now? So I called Kitsie back. So what you see, Tom, and I'll tell you when the show premieres on MYNDY TV, you'll see remastered and more footage from the investigations. Because when Kitsie put it up, we weren't really thinking it was going to be anything. It was like, well, it was pretty cool. Put it on your Oddity Files channel. I don't care who sees it. Mm-hmm. But now she's done a great job of remastering it, and it's fabulous with the new footage. But what you're seeing, she wasn't here for a full evening into the morning hours. It was a few hours both times. Yeah. Just a few hours both times.
And just so people haven't seen it, understand, you Kitsie, you bring out this equipment. Now, you've got a couple of things. I've seen you use 3 different things. One's like a Xbox console that you used at the Athenaeum downtown. I've seen these like glow-in-the-dark divining rod looking things. And you've also got this, what I call it looks like a glorified boom box with lights on it. And so there may be other things, but explain to people that haven't seen the show how you actually communicate with the dead on the other side, because they're not talking to you. Well, also there's software on a little iPad kind of thing. So there's 4 things I've seen. Talk about how you use these technologies to then communicate and how that works.
So the divining rods are just that. It's the same thing that people back in the old timey days used to do to find wells in their yard. It's 2 dowsing rods, and it's said that spirits can move them when they are answering questions for you. So when you use these, you hold them in your hands. They're freestanding. Even though it's in your hands, the rods are within like a tube, so they can move on their own. And we've had great luck with it for yes and no answers. We'll let the spirits know that if you want to answer this yes, go ahead and cross them into an X. And if it's a no answer, go ahead and just leave them alone. And I usually like to start with that just because it's so easy, and it's been used to paranormal investigate since, like I said, the old timey days. Not only were they finding wells in their yard with it, but they were talking to the dead with it. We also have a flashlight that we use. It's a mag light, and we unscrew it just enough so there's not a full connection to turn the flashlight on. And it said that the energy of the spirits, when they touch that flashlight, it will turn it off and on. Now, it does sometimes if the innards, I don't know what they're called, of the flashlight, if they heat up, they will touch. Yeah, they will touch and turn on over time. But when it's actually only turning off and on when you're asking questions or asking them to turn it off, I'm a believer. I think it's the real deal. As for the box, so this is something I purchased online after watching one of those shows I'm still completely addicted to on TV. I call it the Odd Box. It was made by a gentleman named Steve Huff. He made just a handful of them, and I was fortunate enough to get one. So what it is it's an amplifier that you'd like hook up a guitar to if you're practicing to learn how to play electric guitar. And it's got some pedals attached on either side that will add reverb. It'll take noise out. It does all kinds of really cool things. And then I usually start off with an SB7 Spirit Box, which is literally just a old-fashioned handheld AM/FM radio that scans quickly through stations. So quickly that you don't even get a full syllable when it picks up the radio stations. So if you're able to get a word or multiple syllables, I mean, I don't know how else to explain it than it is paranormal communication. And 9 times out of 10, while KJ and I are doing this, we're only getting one voice the entire time. So if it's scanning through all these radio stations, we should get several different voices. And I used to get several different voices when I was at these notoriously haunted locations. But sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes you're in a place that there is no radio stations for the spirits to pull the sound from and turn into what they're trying to say. So that's when I pull out the app. And that was made by the same gentleman who made my Odd Box. It's called the Portal Plus app. And these are all pre-recorded voices. There's a male voice, a female voice, and a child's voice. And they were all recorded and put into reverse into this app. And it randomly takes these sound bites and just throws them out there. Now, if you're able to understand any of the words, it's said, again, that this is spirit communication. But we've had a whole lot of luck with it.
Yes.
Yeah, I watched the episode. I believe so. I guess what I saw was you try the box, and sometimes you'll bring out the iPad, or you'll bring out different things because some things may be easier for some spirits to go through than others. Yeah. And I saw the one KJ where your dad spoke through one of those, and I thought that was really compelling because you were there to talk to your mom, but a male voice was coming through. You guys both thought it was somebody else like interfering with your communication. Then you realized who it was.
What was really cool about that just the other day, Tom, is that my in-laws were in town visiting, and they asked if they could watch the show. And, I was like, sure, we'll put it on YouTube on TV, and we'll eat dinner and you can watch the show. When it got to that part, Tom, and we were just letting them watch it, not saying anything. So they didn't know that, my dad was showing up. Clearly, we didn't know my dad was showing up at the time. But when it got to that part that you're talking about, that all of a sudden my dad comes through and you can hear it, my mother-in-law jumped and said, "That's your dad's voice." And I was like, I know.
Wait for it.
Yeah, I'm like, he's not done. Trust me, there's some more zingers coming. But it was really cool to see somebody else who had, no idea what was going on, didn't know what to expect, but knew my dad to say that that's not just words coming through. That is your father's voice. And I was like, isn't this cool? And we've had that several times now on investigations where it is very clear to the family that we're working with that it's not just the words that are making sense. The voice that is coming through sounds like their loved one is actually talking to them, because they are.
And they're saying things that only that person said to them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to be a spoiler for people that have never seen it, but you just really need to watch it because it is pretty compelling. And it's one of those things I can see now how you got into this, because once you see a couple of these, you just want to see more. It's like, you're just surprised on every one. So let's talk about the show, Paranormal Crossroads. You've recorded how many episodes of that now?
Six.
Well, six investigations will be 12 episodes.
Yes.
12 episodes. And so these are done. They're in the can. Are they on YouTube right now? Where can people see these?
No, they are not. So we're in a little bit of a flux right now because we're about to debut on MYNDY Channel 23. And we don't want to keep having to... We want to eventually get where they're debuting on MYNDY. Yes. So We've got 7 episodes on YouTube right now. And I believe we promised our Kickstarter people that if we reach our next goal, we'll put up 8 episodes total, because there's a part 1 out there right now and everybody's like, what happens? And
we left them hanging. You're going to have to find out. And
well, you got to donate to get it up, right?
Exactly. But yeah, so I believe I have those 7 fully edited and ready to go. And now I'm going back and remastering the first few to premiere on MYNDY.
And so,
but Tom, you can, if you go to our YouTube channel, the episodes that we were doing, my episode, Tammy's episode, the investigation at the Athenaeum, everybody can watch those right now. But we are remastering them and adding some more content and such for what will be the final product running on MYNDY TV.
And so that YouTube channel, is it Paranormal Crossroads? Is that the name of the channel on YouTube?
Paranormal X Road.
Paranormal X Road. Okay. So you guys, this is really a bootstrap grassroots effort, right? So you guys, you got Patches, aka KJ's husband, Patrick, running camera, driving, he's kind of the does everything on the side guy, and you got you two on camera, and you guys are both holding cameras. You create these episodes that you've created, and then you decide, I want to go on television. What was the thought behind why you need to go on MYNDY TV channel 23? What was the thought process behind that?
Well, really, Tom, what we saw as an opportunity to reach, to really start with this, with a local reach. I've been in the community a long time, and I'm honored that most people trust me, right? Like, I'm a very trusted personality. So being able to do this and show people in a way that they know, they know who I am. I'm not out here trying to scam you with anything. I'm actually trying to help some people and maybe help you put a little more normal into the paranormal. And so we were looking at streaming services, looking at our options, and really in talking with people, it was like, well, why don't we bring this to the community? Because these investigations are in the community. We're helping people in Martinsville and Zionsville and, Indianapolis and, the Athenaeum. I mean, everybody knows the Rathskeller and stories there. So, in being able to launch it, I mean, our goal is to get it into more places, whether we take a syndicated route or a streaming route. We're investigating those as, our long-term plans. But we can get this on right now. And how cool with a show like this to be on Saturday nights at midnight, I mean, if you grew up around here and you had Sammy Terry and, these are the kind, so I feel like we're in a good spot to be able to elevate the show and reach more people quicker if we do take this independent show, which we are funding ourselves with the help of a Kickstarter and amazing support, female owned small business. Let's get this show out to people in the community so that it grows faster and we can help more people.
So Kickstarter, explain, you guys raised some money. You had an initial goal, you hit that. Now you're going for more money. I guess the money is going to be used for the television, I guess, to get you syndicated, but also maybe to pay somebody to do some more mastering of video. I mean, what are you guys going to do with the money, I guess?
Yes, please. Yes, we would love to do more investigations and help more people and do less editing. The editing it's a bear, and Kitsie is amazing at it and tells a great story doing all of this on her own. But between the two of us, handling the bulk of the editing, and I'm out there on social media and making all of the, the promos and the teasers and the trailers and all of the things. So we could be doing so much more if we had a little bit of help with some staff. So that was, again, in thinking about the route we wanted to take, it was terrifying to do a Kickstarter, but at the same time, the support that we were getting and the feedback that we were getting from people locally who were seeing this show, we felt like we could put it out there and do this Kickstarter and get it going faster than if we were taking a traditional route of trying to find investors or funding for, a world that is overrun with a lot of content right now. This is a way to make ours stand out faster.
So in your perfect world, okay, so let's step back for a second and think about where you've come from and what you've been doing. But if you step back from that for a second and you say, in a perfect world, what do you see this evolving into, and how will you know when you've really made it big with this?
I've this is a dream that's been mulling around in my head since I started. Paranormal is huge on TV right now. I don't know if you know this, but the actual travel channel is pretty much the Paranormal Channel at this point. And those are the shows I watched. Those are the shows that inspired me. Those are the shows that taught me how to do this. So if I could honestly end up on the Travel Channel, and then of course Discovery Plus, which is my go-to right now, that would be #dreams for me, to be perfectly honest. But our options, I do like to keep our options open. Netflix would be amazing. The opportunities are endless. I don't even know which direction to point my dreams in anymore, because this industry is changing daily at this point.
Yeah, it's almost, it's not inconceivable to think that you could have a celebrity photo person taking pictures of you with people.
Settle down, Tom. Settle down.
Simmer down over there. We're trying to stay humble, man.
We are.
I understand, but I'm saying that I think, just based on what I've seen, I think the appetite of the public out there, because I think what you're having seen it, again, I've only seen 3 episodes, so I'm not an expert by any means, but having seen it and just understanding the premise of it, and just, in the first 5 minutes, I kind of got it. Everything after that kind of just reinforced it. I think there's an appetite for this for people that aren't paranormal people like myself.
Right.
I think you kind of bridge a gap that maybe these other shows don't, and that is that you don't start with the assumption that people are into paranormal stuff and this is going to be really cool for you. You start with the assumption that these are everyday people that had weird things happening in their house, or they've had, in KJ's case, a lamp she started talking to and just thought it was weird, right?
She loves lamp.
I don't think that scenario. I don't think anybody's really approached it from that angle before, and I don't think I don't think you're. I think the audience, a cumulative audience that you can appeal to, is much larger than most of those shows you're probably watching. So you have my ringing endorsement. I think it deserves to be on Amazon or Netflix or whatever it's going to be on, and I hope you guys are wildly successful at it. So, when does the show start? When's the first episode appearing on MYNDY TV, and how many weeks will it be on?
KJ, that's
okay. You got it. Okay,
I'm afraid I'm going to mess something up.
I'll mute myself.
Our premiere episode is July 17th, so it'll run Saturday nights at midnight on MYNDY TV 23, which you can pick up locally with a real nice set of rabbit ears, like in the old school, or it's on it's on DirecTV and Dish and Comcast and all the places. And then we scheduled a full season thanks to the support of our Kickstarter backers and our plan to remaster so that we can work ahead and continue to do investigations. We will be on for 26 weeks, and then who knows?
Wow, 26 weeks. So And as you put these shows on television, are you then premiere these on YouTube as well, so people can start watching them on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
and so even people who already have watched the shows on YouTube will get something out of watching the episodes that we've put together, because there is more information. There is, there is some more follow up. Kitsie came to my house for some additional footage for episode 1. So Tom, you can watch it again and enjoy it just as much. And the sound quality is a little bit better because we edited them and mastered them for TV.
There you go. You guys are all legit now.
We are, but yeah, we want to make sure, we're reaching that local audience, but also we've had some really great support from around the country and around the world. So we want to make sure that we're still putting out those episodes for people to follow along, whether it's online or here locally on Channel 23.
That's awesome. All right, I'm going to end the broadcast. I'm going to stop the